Hey, folks, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. Can't do the program without you. Happy Monday to everybody out there. Hope you had a blessed Lord's Day and a celebration of the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. We've got a great show for you. Donald Trump is making headlines at really just a breakneck pace between everything that he talked about, this morning with the Big Pharma announcement, trying to essentially end the Big Pharma price gouging. We also have his Middle East trip that's raising a lot of eyebrows, especially some of the news that's coming out about this freed hostage that was negotiated. And we have the Israeli press pointing out that they were not involved in the negotiation, and some people are upset about that. We're going to talk about that, as well as Donald Trump classifying white South Africans and what is happening to them as genocide, designating them refugees, to where now they are eligible to resettle here in America. This has angered the likes of people like Al Sharpton, but it's even upset the Episcopal Church, and we'll tell you more about that. Apparently, the Episcopal Church has got a multi-year, decades-long partnership with the government where they come alongside the government, and they help the government resettle refugees. But now that Donald Trump is helping white people who happen to live in Africa, the Episcopal Church announcing they will no longer participate in this government partnership because they do not believe that white farmers from South Africa should be relocated here in America. It's incredible. You really can't make this stuff up. We truly live in incredible times. But before we go into that, I want to remind everybody out there, this portion of the program brought to you by redvivehealth.org. That's redvivehealth.org/Paul. We'll tell you more about the great red light panels you can get from Redvive. That's VIVE. Coming up here a little later in the program. So here we go. Here's the first clip that we have. Donald Trump targeting Big Pharma, essentially saying, look, you guys have been price gouging the American people for far too long, and we've had enough of it. I'm going to pipe the audio in here and take a listen to this from earlier today.
But starting today, the United States will no longer subsidize the health care of foreign countries, which is what we were doing. We're subsidizing others' health care. Countries where they paid a small fraction of what for the same drug that what we pay many, many times more for. And will no longer tolerate profiteering and price gouging from Big Pharma. But again, it was really the countries that forced Big Pharma to do things that, frankly, I'm not sure they really felt comfortable doing. But they've gotten away with it, these countries. European Union has been brutal. And the drug companies actually told me stories. It was just brutal how they forced them. And European Union suing all our companies, Apple, Google, Meta, they're suing all of our companies. They end up, they have judges that are European Union-centric, and they get rewarded $15 billion, $17 billion, $20 billion, and they use that to run their operation. Not going to happen any longer, that I can tell you.
So this is big news. I've heard some people say, no wonder some of the reactions, no wonder they tried to kill Trump. Obviously, they don't define who they is. 75% of all TV advertising, this is from Christian Collins, 75% of all TV advertising is pharmaceutical. 88% of all digital advertising is pharmaceutical. Big Pharma would rather spend tens of billions of dollars every year on ads than lower costs. I'm glad President Trump's taking action on this industry. Then he even so he gives an example. This was rather comical. Gives an example of the price differences on a drug like Ozempic in America versus overseas. By the way, clearly I'm not a fan of Ozempic. I'm not trusting Ozempic, and I don't think you should either. But that's just my 2 cents. But it is a very popular drug. Listen.
I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him. A highly neurotic, brilliant businessman, seriously overweight, and he takes the fat shot drug. And he called me up And he said,
body shaming.
President, he calls me, he used to call me Donald, now he calls me President, so that's nice respect. But he's a rough guy, smart guy, very successful, very rich. I wouldn't even know how we would know this, but because he's got comments. Said, President, could I ask you a question? What? I'm in London, and I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working. He said, I just paid $88. And in New York, I pay $1,300. What the hell is going on? I mean, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's a business.
Oh man! So you see those memes out there that say now that Donald Trump's president, you can say the words gay and retarded again, and apparently you can just call it the fat drug now too. Here is Jeffrey Tucker saying that on this announcement that the Wall Street Journal and others are going to go nuts over this. It says U.S. pharma prices are not market prices. They are monopoly prices. Pharma has been looting taxpayers for years based on lies. Excellent move here. So this was the press conference that we saw, I guess, a little while ago, was in reaction to this Truth Social. Donald Trump teased saying he was, and I'm paraphrasing here, about to put out the best, the most consequential Truth Social he's ever put out. But he says much of the same thing that you just heard here. And he's essentially saying we're no longer going to subsidize other countries, and we're going to, essentially whatever the drug is, whatever the lowest price that drug is sold at in whatever country in the world, that's the price that we want to pay. Now, this may get tied up in court. It very likely will get tied up in court, but we're going to wait and see. Big Pharma has certainly been put on notice. And this has been a long time coming, and I definitely know for more people who are older, senior citizens who are on the Big Pharma hamster wheel, we'll actually tell you about how you can get off the Big Pharma hamster wheel here in a minute, or at least take steps to do that. That this announcement for them is a big deal. I mean, he's saying that anywhere between 30 and 80% there may be a price drop in drugs by 30 to 80%. He says then he goes on, they will rise throughout the world in order to equalize and for the first time in many years bring fairness to America. So this essentially means that, if you're not an American living, you're living not in America, that your drug prices are going to go up if Big Pharma wants to keep their margins. And I think you can also pair this with what RFK announced a while back, where they're trying to end pharmaceutical companies being able to advertise on television, which, that happened sometime in the 90s, and ever since then, the media now won't cover anything negative about Big Pharma or vaccines or anything because they're being paid. They're literally bought and paid for. It's their highest, most lucrative ad deals are with these pharmaceutical companies that just peddle drugs that, in many cases, they don't actually, they don't fix anybody. They just treat symptoms, and they make you more sick over the long term, and more importantly for them, make you a lifelong customer, which is very much what this is about. So RFK took to the podium earlier at this same press conference and called out Elizabeth Warren. One of the things he also said was that Donald Trump took $100 million from Big Pharma in the 2024 campaign. And he remarks at how incredible that is. The fact that you've got somebody like Donald Trump who's making this announcement, going right after Big Pharma's bottom line, at the same time he took $100 million from them. And so, make of that what you will. Just connect the data points, come to the conclusions that you want to come to based on that.
But he can't be bought, unlike most of the politicians in this country. And he is standing here for the American people. I don't know what, there's writers like Lord Elizabeth Warren or Robert Reich who are saying that President Trump is on this side of the oligarchs. There has never been a president more willing to stand up to the oligarchs than President Donald Trump. And I'm very, very proud of you, Mr. President, for your courage, I'll say, because I don't want to be crude, your intestinal fortitude, your stiff spine, and your willingness to stand up for the American people. We have 4.2% of the world's population. We our country represents 75% of the revenues for pharmaceutical companies. We spend in our country $11, but he can't be bought.
So RFK Jr. saying he can't be bought, and he mentioned in another clip that I had. I guess I didn't have the right one, where he talked about how much money Big Pharma gave to the Trump campaign, and that's why he says that he can't be bought. From in terms of making a decision like that. So the other huge news is this trade deal with China. So they were meeting in Switzerland. They were meeting in Geneva. The Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Chinese counterparts. And here is the trade announcement, which, the stock market certainly liked this.
In addition, yesterday we achieved a total reset with China after productive talks in Geneva. Both sides now agreed to reduce the tariffs imposed after April 2nd to 10% for 90 days as negotiators continue in the larger structural issues. And I want to tell you that a couple of things. First of all, that doesn't include the tariffs that are already on, that are our tariffs, and it doesn't include tariffs on cars, steel, aluminum, things such as that, or tariffs that may be imposed on pharmaceuticals, because we want to bring the pharmaceutical businesses back to the United States, and they're already starting to come back now based on tariffs because they don't want to pay 25, 50, or 100% tariffs, so they're moving them back to the United States. I spoke to Tim Cook this morning, and he's going to, I think, even up his numbers, $500 billion. He's going to be building a lot of plants in the United States for Apple, and we look forward to that. I really do look forward to that. But the talks in Geneva were very friendly. The relationship is very good. We're not looking to hurt China. China was being hurt very badly. They were closing up factories. They were having a lot of unrest. And they were very happy to be able to do something with us. And the relationship is very, very good. I'll speak to President Xi maybe at the end of the week. We have some other things we're doing. But one of the biggest things that we're doing, and I don't know if people realize this, but we made a great deal with China, great trade deal, but it was a much bigger deal originally, and then they canceled it right in the last day. Some of you faces, I remember, were there when that happened. I remember.
Interesting. So he's saying that it was a much bigger deal, but they kind of pulled back on the bigger deal. So we'll see what continues to develop with that. But the bottom line is, it's been an incredible the breakneck pace at which Trump is making headlines. You get off the air. I get off the air, I think Friday, or maybe this was also Thursday. But you hear it talks about the brokering a peace between the Trump administration brokering a peace between Pakistan, as Obama used to say, Pakistan and in India. You also have Putin and Zelensky. Allegedly, they're going to meet this week. You have Trump. He's about to go to the Middle East, and we'll tell you about all of the situations surrounding that here in just a minute. But then you have this Big Pharma announcement where Donald Trump again is taking on Big Pharma and going after the price gougers, if you will. But as I said earlier, there's a guy that I know who knows a little bit about. A little bit about Big Pharma in terms of the benefits of getting off of their hamster wheel. His name is Matt Troy, and he works for the great company that we are pleased to partner with, Red Vive and Red Vive Health. And you guys hear me talk about it all the time. And I've been teasing this interview for a while because it's pretty. It's going to be great. Matt Troy, welcome to the Millstone Report, sir. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, great show.
Yeah, well, I've talked to you, if you've talked offline a few times, and your story, and again, I know you work for Red Vive, you sell this great product, and you know about all of the success stories, you talk to customers on a daily basis, but you yourself have your own success story. I mean, this is one of the, you sell the product, but you actually believe in the product. Can you tell us a little bit about your story? Like, when did you first hear about red light therapy?
Well, I'm one of those knuckleheads that after my wrestling career in high school, wanted to not play golf. I'm not very good at golf, so I decided to take my wrestling skills into mixed martial arts. I don't, as a father, I don't push it with my children because I beat the hell out of my body for 20 years doing it. But the nice thing was that I actually discovered red light therapy and photobiomodulation through all my injuries. Dr. Desai, who you've had on the show, he's actually a friend of mine and business partner with Red Vibe now. I actually destroyed my ACL and my meniscus fighting, herniated 2 discs in my neck, had my C5, 6, 7 fused, just headaches and pain and just everything, 4 shoulder surgeries. I mean, the list could go on and on. And through regenerative medicine, which Dr. Desai is, one of the leading regenerative medicine doctors in the country. He has a lot of stem cells and PRP, but what I found was, and this is years ago before you even heard about the red light craze, is that red light therapy actually helps build collagen and stimulates blood flow in areas that you wouldn't have blood flow normally. And so I used that in conjunction with the regen, and actually found that it helped for pain. And I had all these different things that I didn't realize that there wasn't as many studies when I started this, but now they're all coming out, and I started geeking out on it, and I realized, wow, it's actually good for your vision. I mean, we give you guys goggles. Red Vibe offers goggles as a precautionary measure, but the studies all show for 2 or 3 minutes if it goes through your eyelids or you gaze into it. And again, if you have seizures or you get headaches, use the goggles, but it's actually kept my vision. I'll be 49 next month, and I have perfect vision, knock on wood still, right? So I found from the studies that I've been doing in all these years, I wasn't wearing the goggles because I'm a knucklehead, and sure enough, it actually helped me in all the studies about macular degeneration. It's helped my skin. I feel like my skin looks pretty good at, my age after all the beating and pounding it's taken over the years. So, but when I blew my ACL, I had a dime-sized hole in my meniscus. They told me that I would have to have a knee replacement by the time I was this was at 34. I'll never forget Chael Sonnen, who's one of the UFC fighters, was carrying me to my truck, and I'm thinking I would never walk the same again. And I actually was told I would have a knee replacement. I'm 49, and my meniscus is fully... There's that dime-sized hole is not the meniscus. You're not supposed to be able to grow new tissue and cartilage. That's just, they give you knee replacements, or they'll just tell you, obviously they'll inject you with hyaluronic acid or something. After multiple MRIs over the years, Dr. Desai, who managed this, noticed that obviously that hole is gone. I have no pain. I can run on it. And I attribute a lot of that to red light and photobiomodulation and what it does. So I geeked out on it. I finally actually, whenever I was feeling run down or sick, or just tired or in a bad mood or whatever, I would lay underneath it too. And I just found all these other benefits. So I started having friends that called me up and said, hey man, I remember coming to your house and trying that. Can you recommend one? So I was trying to recommend one, and I found that because it's a class 2 medical device, there's no FDA regulation. I mean, water is completely safe, so nobody regulates water, right? So there's no FDA oversight. So what I found was that when you test these independently, that the power is not there. The power pushes the light into the tissue. The near infrared, I don't know if many of you guys have seen these. I keep one under my desk actually for my while I work, but I don't know if you can see that, Paul, but there's an NIR button.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
look how bright that is.
Oh, yeah, this thing blind you. But no, it won't blind you. But actually, the near infrared takes a lot of power to push 2 inches deep into the tissue to get into the meniscus, get into the bones. Remember I said my C5, 6 was fused. I have no neck pain. You're not supposed to have blood flow into those discs in your back and your spine. And it actually is so powerful that it actually does create blood flow. And so you need that blood flow to be able to heal injuries. And part of the reason why the meniscus my labrum in my shoulder, my back, they don't get blood flow. And if you don't have blood flow, you can't heal properly. So I use it within 6 to 12 inches of my body. You should be in a private room where you can have as much of your body exposed. I have a 3-foot panel in my room that I lay underneath. I actually do it. I microdose it. I do it in the morning for about 10 or 15 minutes. The studies show it fills your rods and your cones in the back of your eyes and fills your cells with adenosine triphosphate, ATP, in your mitochondria. And it's like my cup of coffee in the morning. So it started out as something to heal all my injuries in my body from fighting. And it turns out that there were like so many other benefits. So like my eyes, my skin, you do see a lot of like wraps and things like that for skin and like some things that don't really have the power to get deeper into the tissue. But this particular device, I contacted the doc. I said, look, there's got to be something where we can third party test it. Doctors will endorse it. And I want you to geek out on this thing. Desai is, I'm going to toot his horn here for a minute, but the guy had pretty close to a perfect score on his SAT and just, he nerds out on this thing. And I'm not an MD. So he went to London and met with all the top scientists, all the photobiomodulation specialists last year in London at the PBM conference. And really, as we designed this thing, there were 4 wavelengths that were specifically designed for regenerative medicine, which are the near infrared are in the 800 range. I don't want to bore you guys with the details of it, Paul. But
here's what I would say. This is what I would like to know. So you're somebody who talks to customers. You help them with your order and everything like that. And then we were talking offline, and there's a 60-day money-back guarantee, also 0% financing available. But, if you're going to send it back, if you were going to send it back and take advantage of the 60-day money-back guarantee, you would save the box. But from what I understand, nobody sends these things back. When they buy them, they realize they work, and so they throw the box away. They keep it.
We have never had a return for reasons that somebody said that didn't do anything for them. I had one person where it was a little too big for their space, and they got a smaller one, but it's a 3-foot panel, but they loved it. But other than that, basically, let me go back to my story, Paul, in the sense that I would have people asking me about it at my house, and I would actually let them borrow it if they were feeling sicker, and they didn't want to give it back. And so that's when I knew, because I actually traveled to Southern California to bring it to somebody in hospice who was like literally on their deathbed. And when I brought it through TSA, nobody knew what it was. And I'm thinking, how does the world not know about this? I mean, you were just talking about, pharmaceuticals and Big Pharma. I don't know if it's been suppressed or it's light, right? I mean, it's the purest form of energy, and we're indoors 90% of the time. We're supposed to be outdoors 90% of the time. For hundreds of years, we've been outdoors, now, or thousands really, right? And now we spend 80% of our time indoors, and then 10% in a car, and then the rest we're trying to get light outside. So people are deficient. And this is a one-time thing purchase. There's 100,000 hours on these LEDs, a 2-year warranty, but nobody returns them. To your point, Paul, they're I mean, I don't know. We've probably sold thousands of these. We're in over 200 doctors' offices, practitioners across the country, and we get recommendations from the doctor. And actually there's a payment plan option too. And you don't make a payment for the first 30 days. And I tell people, look, before your payment even comes out, if you don't love it, just keep that packaging. It comes in a very simple box, you return it, but nobody does. And I do a lot of the follow-up calls because I want to make sure that, number one, people know how to use it properly. I mean, I've had people ask, why are half the lights not on? Well, they're just near infrared, so they're beyond the visible spectrum.
Yeah.
You can see it very, very faintly, but or they don't use the near infrared, or they're standing too far away from it. So I want to make sure that
let's talk about that. Because you can toggle between the near infrared and the red. And I was talking to you offline. I was asking, well, in what scenario would you think that, let's say you only wanted to use the near infrared, you want to turn the red light off, just use the near infrared. Is there a practical application for that you found?
Yeah. So actually, Dr. Desai's daughter actually had a concussion and playing sports. I think it was volleyball. She had some really bad headaches, and Doc put her underneath the red light with just the near infrared. It's very on the edge of the visible spectrum, so you'll see like slight red, but it's very, very dim and won't like exacerbate a headache or anything like that. But you'll still get the benefits. Remember, the only part of the skull that is exposed is the retina, right? So to really get in there and actually affect things, it has to be within 6 inches of your face. Well, if you have a concussion, that red light could maybe exacerbate your headaches and maybe cause more vision problems. So that's one reason. But 99% of the time, you should always use both, because there's 4 wavelengths of light: 635, 670. Those are in the red range and the 600 range. So those come in those really bright. And then you have 810 and 850, which is in the near infrared. We have 4. We used to have 5, but all the recent studies showed that those 4 wavelengths were ideal. And there's a lot of gimmicks out there where you can adjust the power, or they have flickering lights, or they add blue light and these other things. We have 300 LEDs on that middle one. We have 60 on the small, and we have 840 on the big. And we wanted to maximize the 4 wavelengths that all the recent studies show for all the best, like regenerative medicine and so forth out there. So I'm really amazed that I didn't realize. I guess if I was going to tell you, Paul, one thing that has stood out for me is I always got up at night to go to the bathroom quite a bit. As you get older, as a man anyway, your prostate enlarges, you go to the bathroom. And I lay under the thing. I'm nude in a private room before I go to bed. It reduces whatever inflammation or anything in my prostate, and it relaxes me at night. And then when I wake up in the morning, it actually wakes you up. And then if you go in, and you can actually go to our website, and there's some studies. The doc input some studies on circadian rhythm and all the things it does for you as it relates to sleep. We're probably in more sleep, sleep and TMJ, sleep doctors' offices than any other type of doctor across the country. We're mostly like a B2B type thing, because I wanted doctors to recommend this and doctors to explain how to use it properly. It's pretty simple though, and this is more business. This is business to consumer, which is, Paul, you're one of the few places we do this.
I appreciate it. I mean, obviously you guys sent me a panel and I use it, and the energy input that I have seen, the increase in energy, general wellness. I've talked to Dr. Desai before, and you look at all the studies. That's what you need to do, folks. You need to, if you're on the fence about it, and you want to get off the Big Pharma hamster wheel, this is one exit for that. But you need to go to the website and look at all the research that you have seen. It sounds like a catch-all. It sounds like, honestly, it's like too good to be true is what it sounds like. But then if you go and you look at the research, it's kind of exactly what it is.
It's exactly right. I hate cardio. I usually just lift weights, and I'll do some sparring and things. I still want to continue to train into my 50s and competitively in martial arts. And it actually, there's new studies that show it actually burns abdominal fat as within 12 inches if you have enough power. This device does clinical grade power. And so wait, you're telling me it helps you sleep, it burns fat, there's no side effects, there's no downside effects. Yeah, that's all true, because our bodies are biologically supposed to be getting a certain amount of light. And these rays, which are focused near infrared and red rays, they come from the sun. You know, they call it a golden hour when the sun rises and it's coming, and you see that red coming through the atmosphere, and when it sets and you see that red coming through, that's when you're getting the most red light for your body, and we're supposed to be outside during that time. And so that's why it wakes you up in the morning and helps you fall asleep at night. And
wow.
You know, I guess Big Pharma doesn't want, I don't know why it's not more, it's become more mainstream for skin and aesthetics, because people, you know, that sells, and, you know, it's actually, some of the sexual health benefits are amazing for people with, you know, erectile dysfunction, all those things. But other than that, I haven't seen a whole lot for regenerative medicine, and like, I haven't seen, it's not mainstream yet. But my goal is to leveraging doctors throughout the country. And if you're a practitioner or a licensed practitioner, or even a physical therapist or anything like that, we have an affiliate program. If you go to the website, click on affiliate, and you can register to be an affiliate. And our goal is to make the doctors our minions, to educate people on how to do it properly. I don't know of another red light company that goes into the science and actually wants to educate, make sure people use it properly. They just want to sell you a panel, and they don't. Most of them aren't third-party tested or have any of the power that they list on their specs.
Wow. Well, Matt Troy, I appreciate your story. I want to do it again sometime. But yeah, it's great to have you on for the first time. And want everybody, if you're interested in this, you're not only going to get a great product, you're also supporting the work I'm doing. You go to redvivehealth.org/Paul. That's the link. You get a discount there. Just make sure you use the link redvive, VIVE, health.org/Paul. Matt Troy, we appreciate it so much. Thank you, thank you, brother.
Thanks so much for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely.
You. And love the show. I love the show.
I appreciate it. All right, well, be safe. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Folks,
right, thanks.
We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to hear from our good friend Mike Lindell, and we'll be back here in just a moment.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
All right, so remember, it's MyPillow.com. That's MyPillow.com, and you want to use the promo code PH. They've got a huge summer sale going on right now where you can save up to 80% off. And, of course, you know, Mike Lindell is the pillow salesman that is out to save the country, and obviously the media loves to target Mike Lindell for all of the work that he does in our movement. It's MyPillow.com. And use promo code PH. They also have these new energy drinks as well. All right, I want to make sure you do that. And from here on out, the rest of the program brought to you by our good friends over at Curable Premium Health, Curable CBD. We'll tell you more about the great CBD that you can get from curable.com here in just a moment, a little later in the program. Okay, so we've been talking Donald Trump. We've been talking just how he's, you know, essentially making all these headlines at a breakneck pace. There's a pretty big week right now that the Trump administration has ahead of themselves with this Middle Eastern trip. But we had this news, conflicting reports yesterday. We had news that the nation of Qatar, or however you want to pronounce it, is donating or giving the Trump administration a $400 million jet. And people said, it's true. Then people said, no, it's not true. And Donald Trump said, yes. As a matter of fact, it is true. Donald Trump was asked about this new jet. Trump issues a new statement, according to Eric Daugherty, on potentially accepting a free, massive Boeing jet for a temporary Air Force One. Take a listen to this.
Well, I think what happens with the plane is that, you know, we're very disappointed that it's taking Boeing so long to build a new Air Force One. You know, we have an Air Force One that's 40 years old. And if you take a look at
First of all, that's a tragedy. I'll say this once great American company, Boeing, that, by the way, there are conspiracy theories about, whistleblowers from that company turning up dead, can't effectively build. This is the real story here. Whether you think, Trump needs to take the plane or not, it really shows you just the fall of a once great American company named Boeing.
that compared to the new plane of the equivalent, stature at the time, it's not even the same ballgame. You look at some of the Arab countries and the planes they have parked alongside of the United States of America plane, it's like from a different planet. And it's close to 40 years old, might be more than 40 years old now. And we, when I first came in, I signed an order to get it built. I took it over from the Obama administration. They had originally agreed. I got the price down much lower. And then when the election didn't exactly work out the way that it should have, a lot of work was not done on the plane because a lot of people didn't know. They made change orders that were so stupid, so ridiculous. And it ended up being a total mess, a real mess. And when I came back, I said, by the way, what's going on with the Boeings that are coming in? Well, sir, they're way behind. And they are. They're way behind. They were way behind. Another mess that I inherited from Biden. And it's going to be a while before we get them. And I think Qatar, who we've helped them a lot over the years in terms of security and safety. I think they, and very, very nicely, and I have a lot of respect for the leadership and for the leader, Qatar. And I think they knew about it because they buy Boeings. They buy a lot of Boeings. And they knew about it. And they said, we would like to do something. And if we can get a 747 as a contribution to our Defense Department to use during a couple of years while they're building the other ones, I think that was a very nice gesture. Now, I could be a stupid person and say, oh, no, we don't want a free plane. We give free things out. We'll take one, too. And it helps us out because, again, we're talking about we have 40-year-old aircraft. The money we spend, the maintenance we spend on those planes to keep them tippy-top is astronomical. You wouldn't even believe it. So I think it's a great gesture from Qatar. I appreciate it very much. I would never be one to turn down that kind of an offer. I mean, I could be a stupid person, say, no, we don't want a free, very expensive airplane. But I thought it was a great gesture. And I think it was a gesture because of the fact that we have helped and continue to, we will continue to, all of those countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and others, we keep them safe. If it wasn't for us, they probably wouldn't exist right now. And I think this was just a gesture of good faith. And I don't get it. Someday it'll be like Ronald Reagan. They decommission them. They get to a certain age, they decommission them. It'll go to my library. They're talking about going to my library in years out. But I thought it was a great gesture. And it's something that was done by Ronald Reagan. They actually decommissioned the plane, and he put it in his library. And
So, I mean, aside from the obvious national security risk that immediately comes to mind, I mean, you would have to assume that this, you would like to assume. We would like to assume that if this were the case, and Donald Trump's going to fly around on this Boeing plane that's a gift from Qatar, that they would sweep it with a fine-tooth comb for any type of espionage devices or whatever. You would obviously assume that. But other than that, I mean, it does make an incredible amount of sense to me, just in terms of his attitude about the whole thing. But it's angering a lot of people. Some people are saying this is a bad sign. You're being too friendly with the Qataris. So Donald Trump's going to the Middle East this week, and they also negotiated a hostage deal to secure the release of an American hostage from Hamas. Here's a portion of a Fox News clip and what they're saying about it.
No stop is set right now, John, for Israel in this trip. No meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu.
So Donald Trump's going to the Middle East, Fox News says, but they're not stopping in Israel. And To some, this is a red flag.
No stop is set right now, John, for Israel in this trip. No meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. Analysts have been saying recently that he is being seen by the U.S., by the Trump administration, as a roadblock on many areas that Trump is trying to advance. Israel, in fact, was not having much to do with this latest hostage development.
Pretty incredible times that we're living in. J.D. Vance, pray that Hamas follows through and Eden, that's the hostage that's been negotiated, pray that he gets to come home. If they do, it will be another triumph of Steve Witkoff, who continues to face withering attacks for freeing hostages, negotiating complex diplomatic proposals, and serving his country at great financial cost. Alex Witkoff, writing, Hamas will release American hostage Eden Alexander unconditionally, citing pressure from Trump. President Trump, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, heads to Israel tomorrow to finalize the release per Israeli journalist Barak Ravid. This is a historic diplomatic breakthrough. The Jerusalem Post with this headline, Hamas to release Israeli-American hostage Eden Alexander after talks with U.S. Now, one of the most interesting X accounts to follow over the last 72 hours, not that I actually follow him, is talk radio host Mark Levin, who has been kind of crashing out in a way over the news that he's hearing out of the Middle East. He writes, surely this must be fake news, to a report by Jacob Majid, who says, the source says Hamas has received assurances from the U.S. through mediators that Alex's release would go a long way with Trump, who wants to see the remaining hostages released and for the war in Gaza to end. How about that? The idea that Trump wants the bloodshed to stop, the idea that Trump wants people to put down their guns in both Ukraine and in the Middle East. Mark Levin, this is too much for him. He doesn't want to believe it. He says, surely this must be fake news. He says this as well. Surely this has to be fake news in a response to an article by the Jerusalem Post. Headline, we want to bring the hostages home, but Israel not willing to end the war. That's a quote from Steve Witkoff. The headline is, Witkoff meets hostage families, criticizes Israel for prolonging the war. The Jerusalem Post, writing on May 11th, so yesterday, quote, we want to bring hostages home, but Israel not willing to end the war, Witkoff reportedly says. Trump administration's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, commented at a meeting with hostage families. Sources at the meeting told Channel 12. The Trump administration's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, criticized Israel in a meeting with hostage families, according to a Sunday evening report by Channel 12. We want to bring the hostages home, but Israel not willing to end the war. Israel is prolonging it despite the fact that we don't see where else it can go and that an agreement must be reached, Witkoff commented during the meeting. However, he added an optimistic message saying that there is currently an opportunity window that we hope Israel and all mediators will take advantage of. We are putting pressure on all mediators and doing everything we can to bring the hostages home. So, my take on this is, as long as the Israel war in Gaza or the West Bank continues, it's only going to serve to potentially get the U.S. involved in a direct confrontation in Iran, which is something that I don't want, and I don't think a lot of the people that voted for Trump voted for him because they thought he would be the candidate of peace and we would end these Middle Eastern wars that have been essentially a staple of American foreign policy my entire life. I'm 40 years old. My entire life, this is just what we do. We put soldiers in the Middle East to die for other countries. Now, all that being said, you have to take into consideration that the longer something like this goes on and the more likely you have a direct confrontation with Iran, like Lindsey Graham dreams about every night, the prospects of peace with Russia and normalizing relations with Russia are threatened. There is really no way I see, and I'm no diplomat, but I just am a commentator. I don't see any way that you normalize relations with Russia, as is the Trump administration's stated goal, financially speaking, and militarily as well, and go into a war with Iran, because Iran is a proxy of Russia. So I don't see how that happens. And surely the people in the Trump administration have this, at least this observation. Surely this has been observed. It's kind of like you're either going to have peace in both places or you're not going to have any peace, is the way I see it. Here's another story. Reuters reporting this morning, headline, as Trump heads to the Gulf, Israel asks where it stands. So Trump is set to visit Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. He will not visit Israel. Some Israelis wonder about the state of Israel-U.S. ties. Israeli officials have put on a brave face on U.S. President Donald Trump bypassing them on a Middle East trip this week. But his decision to do so is the latest to sow doubt in Israel about where it stands in Washington's priorities. On Sunday, a few days after announcing plans for an expanded military operation in Gaza, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said it had been informed by the United States of an agreement to release U.S.-Israeli hostage Eden Alexander after talks between Washington and Hamas that did not include Israel. So it's been reported in multiple places that the United States did not consult Israel when it came to getting back one of its own citizens, an American citizen. And so, X has been awash with just, back and forth about what does this mean? And I would just say, on its face, it just seems like some iteration of America First policies. And also, at least from some elements of the Trump administration, the people that want peace and not war. And, you can go back and you can look at the Signal Gate. You look at the Signal Gate messages that we were all privy to because, apparently, Mike Waltz, adds Goldberg onto the chat. By the way, there's a story that Mike Waltz was using an alternate version of the Signal chat, an actually Israeli version that's that's different than the anonymity that a regular Signal app provides. But you go back and you look at Hegseth's comments, you look at J.D. Vance's comments, you look at all of the stories we have about how the White House Oval Office meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump, and how even Susie Wiles wasn't wanting to go to war with Iran and didn't think the proposed attack was a good idea. So there's a ton of moving parts here, but for the most part, what I can tell is, and Trump may get dragged into a war. The United States may bomb Iran tomorrow. I don't know, but from what I can tell, it just appears that Donald Trump does not want to be a wartime president and does not want to go and start new wars. He didn't want to do it in his first term. I don't think he wants that to be his legacy this term. I think it would destroy his legacy, actually. Here's Steve Witkoff, Derek Evans posting this clip of Steve Witkoff in an interview.
You're right. The neocon element believes that war is the only way to solve things. And the president believes that his force of personality, the way he is going to respond to situations, can bend people to do things in a much better way in the interests of the United States government, and I believe in that too. You're right. The neocon element believes that war is the only way to solve things.
And this is at least an attempt to pivot away from that. Neocons, neoconservatives have essentially run American foreign policy in both parties for decades now, and they never have to admit that their policies actually destabilize regions. They never have to. Now, it's very good for the, everyone wants to use the term oligarch now. It's very good for the oligarch. It's very good for the uniparty. It's not good for the American soldier. I'll tell you that much. So, again, radio host Mark Levin, his Twitter has been quite fascinating. He didn't like this. I guess Mark Levin doesn't like Steve Witkoff. He says, by the way, neocon, quote, Mark Levin, by the way, neocon is a pejorative for Jew. Unbelievable. He says it's unbelievable that Witkoff is not for neocon foreign policy and essentially is intuiting that it is somehow anti-Semitic to use the word neocon now. So for those of you that, kind of have a running update on what the definition of anti-Semitism is. Now, apparently, if you use the word neocon, it's now we're not supposed to use that word now, I guess. And then again, surely this must be fake news. We already covered that one. So, I mean, it's a fascinating situation right now. Trump has a very big week. We've got the Big Pharma announcement targeting Big Pharma price gouging. We've got, a truce between India and Pakistan. We've got this Middle East trip. We've got this trade deal with China. It's going to be a very, very wild week. That much I know. Folks, before we go any further, I want to tell you about Curable Premium Health and Curable CBD. At Curable, they not only, till the soil and plant the seed, harvest the hemp, extract the hemp, then they send it off to a third party to verify they don't use harmful chemicals, pesticides, and that you get the most pure, most premium CBD product that you can. Curable also is offering 20% off if you use promo code Paul20. They've got great products. They've got products for pets. They've got products for external use like the muscle cream, internal use like the gummies and the tinctures, the CBD tinctures to fight inflammation internally. Kind of goes where it needs to go. CBD is fantastic at fighting inflammation throughout your body, and it's a great alternative to using things like ibuprofen, Tylenol, Aleve, aspirin, these NSAIDs that studies show long-term use not so good for your health. Try the natural version. Look up the amazing anti-inflammatory benefits of CBD. And when you do, I want you to go to curable.com, Kuribl, Kuribl.com, and at checkout, use promo code Paul20 and save 20%. So, I don't know, did you guys see the cocaine gate thing? I don't know what to believe. At first, I thought we had him dead to rights and that we just had, ironclad evidence that Europe was being run by a bunch of drug addicts. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Europe probably is being run by a bunch of drug addicts. But, you had Keir Starmer, German Chancellor Merz, you have Emmanuel Macron, and here's the video that people were passing around, and they're saying that little white thing on the table is actually a bag of cocaine, and they're saying that the little stick there by the cocktail is actually a cocaine sniffing spoon, and they say all this because Macron here in just a minute is going to quickly, smoothly swipe the what could be a napkin or a bag of cocaine. And everybody was okay, so we got him dead to rights. We even had this right here. Yeah. So is that an actual cocaine sniffer? Because Clandestine says that it's just a cocktail, like a cocktail toothpick or whatever. And then they're saying that that's like they're saying that that's a bag of cocaine, or is that just a crumbled up napkin, like a cocktail. So I don't know. And then there was this photo. Alex Jones posts this photo. You can clearly see it's a bag of blow. Now that looks like a bag of blow. That does not look like a napkin to me. Interestingly, I've never actually seen a bag of cocaine in person. I can say that. But Clandestine claims that this photo is doctored. It's a doctored photo. Look at the glass. It's all distorted. And saying that this is the real photo, which is just a watered-up napkin. I guess that could possibly be paper, like with cocaine in it. I don't know. It's fascinating to watch people. All right, we don't need to fight over this, okay? But it is important to get the story right. And I don't know. I see conflicting reports out there of what it is and what it isn't. We're going to have to wait and see. Okay, as we run out of time, this is news that I'm going to have to talk about probably a little bit in more detail tomorrow. But here's Donald Trump. This was incredible what he said about South Africa. Listen.
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess a G20 meeting there or something, but we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of, but it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about, but it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it. If it were the other way around, they'd talk about it. That would be the only story they'd talk about. And I don't care who they are. I don't care about their race, their color. I don't care about their height, their weight. I don't care about anything. I just know that what's happening is terrible. I have people that live in South Africa. They say it's a terrible situation taking place. So we've essentially extended citizenship to those people to escape from that violence and come here.
It's incredible. Donald Trump is finally admitting what the media has called a conspiracy theory, and that is there is a white genocide on in South Africa. And there's now report that the Episcopal Church is ending its long-time partnership with the government because Donald Trump is trying to resettle white farmers. I kid you not. Here is the religious news service, the headline: Episcopal Church refuses to resettle white South Africans, or Afrikaners. Ends partnership with the federal government. Quote, this is from the Episcopal Church. In light of our church's steadfast commitment to racial justice and reconciliation and our historic ties with the Anglican Church of Southern Africa, we are not able to take this step, the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church said in a letter. In a striking move that ends nearly 4 decades-old relationship between the federal government and the Episcopal Church, the denomination announced on Monday, May 12th, that it is terminating its partnership with the government to resettle refugees, citing moral opposition to resettling white Afrikaners from South Africa who have been classified as refugees by President Donald Trump's administration. In a letter sent to members of the church, the Most Rev. Sean W. Rowe, the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church, said that 2 weeks ago the government informed Episcopal Migration Ministries that under the terms of our federal grant, we are expected to resettle white Afrikaners from South Africa, whom the U.S. government has classified as refugees. The request, Rose said, crossed a moral line for the Episcopal Church, which is part of the global Anglican communion that boasts among its leaders the late Archbishop Bishop Desmond Tutu, a celebrated and vocal opponent of apartheid in South Africa. So because they are white people, the Episcopal Church says, we're out. We're out. Sorry, we're going to end this long-time partnership. Now, there are some people that think, wow, this is fantastic. R.N. McIntyre writes, Trump can apparently end the religious, non-governmental organization, NGO human trafficking racket just by bringing in a few whites. Amazing. There's been several other takes like this. I saw Jeremy Carl, who has this great book. He said something similar. Trump announces that it's a genocide and we're bringing in the white South Africans. We're going to give them refugee status here in this country. And then at least one NGO that's affiliated with the Episcopal Church says, if you're bringing in whites, we want nothing to do with it. You can't make this up, folks. It's crazy. What a wild time that we live in. That is for sure. All right, folks. That's all the time that I have for this Monday edition of the Millstone Report. I hope everybody out there has a great rest of your Monday. Unless I'm providentially hindered, I'm going to be back here on Tuesday delivering you the news. Until then, God bless everybody out there watching. Thank you so much.
The very foundation of the Christian faith is based